Hello and welcome to Conf42. Today we've got a really exciting session for you talking about breaking down the principles of platform engineering and talking about what platform as a service means. And with that, we've got two really cool interactive demos where we're going to be talking and taking a look at virtualization, but also AI in the context of platform engineering and discussing how to empower the developer experience and minimize some of these complexities that operations and developers teams are experiencing now in this world of cloud native. So I want to give a big thank you to the conference organizers and give a quick introduction to myself. And I'm joined by the lovely Valentina. Now, a little bit of background about myself is that I've been very fortunate to always have worked with containers and Kubernetes. It's been a big privilege. And my experience is in container tooling, the projects Podman and Podman Desktop as an interface. I've helped in the past with those. And I worked as a developer advocate at Red Hat. So Valentina, I'll pass it to you.
Yes, I'm so excited about this session. So thank you so much for including me. I can't wait to share all the agenda and demos that we have for you today. So I'm Valentina Rodriguez. I'm a principal architect at Red Hat. I focus on everything Kubernetes. Before that, not that long ago, I was a developer myself. So I am so excited about this topic and how we can bring the benefits of platform engineering and internal development platforms into developers' personas. So with that, I would like to cover the agenda for today. We will go over these personas. The developer will talk about platform engineering and how they can work together, but also look into platform as a product that we know is a hot topic right now in the industry. We want to understand how it works and how we can take advantage of it. And with that, it really is connected with the idea of internal developer portals and platforms. We will show you, we will talk about it, but also we will do a couple of demos as Cedric mentioned. We'll go over at the end with best practices and also reference architectures. But then now we're going to start talking about what Cedric, I know you are working on an amazing application. I want to hear everything about it. So what can you tell me?
Thanks so much, Valentina. I'm building out, you might not think it's exciting, but a very cool internal tool. And the first step is, and I've told this is how it's traditionally worked, is that all you'd have to do is pull out your editor and get to coding, right? Maybe it's VS Code, maybe it's Eclipse, IntelliJ, and figure out what framework I'm going to work with. Is it a Python application? Is it a Java app? And it used to be much more simpler. But then we have to start thinking about a couple more complexities. For example, with being cloud native, we have to think about, what container runtime am I going to use to package up my application and its dependencies and actually run it somewhere? Is it Podman? Is it Docker? Where are we going to store those container images? What registry do we have to put them there? Where are we going to run these containers? I'm hoping it's on a platform like Kubernetes or a distribution of Kubernetes. And then it doesn't stop there, because on top of that, we need to start thinking about the YAML that we need for these deployments in order to run them, in order to take advantage of all the benefits that we have with Kubernetes. The YAML that I, as a developer, don't really understand because I'm concentrated on writing my application. Now I have to think about these complexities. Where am I going to store the code? Is it a remote IDE that I need to start using? Do I need to think about CI and CD? Valentina, I don't know. Does it stop there?
No, it really doesn't. But I think you are in a great path. So you started building locally, right? And that's been working well for you. But then, as you mentioned, we need to start looking into other practices and technologies and tools to really bring all those capabilities into different development environments and all the different stages. And we want to make it with best practices, security. So we need to build like CI/CD, building the pipeline with Tecton. We need to look into GitOps, something that I really love with Argo, for example, when you have one source of truth, so you can have all those YAML files really there. But then we'll start looking into, okay, let's use Helm charts, right? It's a really nice practice that you can use Helm charts for your applications, when you can use the values files and everything in there as a good practice to scale all those manifests and reuse them. But then also how that will look if we start looking into, it doesn't end there, as you said, from Grafana, we need to start looking at observability. We need to start looking into, is this a microservices? How we connect with Istio? What about Kafka if you want to do some event-driven architectures? There are so many things that we need to do. And this is just a start. That sounds.
Well, Valentina, I must say it sounds very exciting and interesting, but I'm starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed. And you might feel like this guy in the photo here, where you're looking at the CNCF landscape and it's just so overwhelming because it's exploded in the past few years. There's a specific project for every specific use case that your company might need. And it's great because it's all open source and we can all contribute to it. But as a developer, I'm starting to be very overwhelmed. And I think that we can all agree that developers are under this immense amount of pressure. And with that, we have the consequence of the productivity slowing down and the fact that there is more bureaucracy, there are more processes, there are more cognitive overload items that have taken me away from just coding to now having to think about a lot more. So from my day-to-day job of just having to write application code, now I'm having to think about application modernization and how do we actually translate our application to a cloud native environment. And of course, learning new technologies comes with that cognitive overload as well. And these are all part of the different benefits that we get from those technologies that you talked about, Valentina. But now, if I'm just trying to focus on getting my application to run, there's a lot of numbers that we've looked at and learned from papers in the field and reports that kind of point to developer productivity decreasing. And I think this kind of brings us to this wall of confusion.
Yes, exactly. I understand. Yeah, it's a lot, right, to take in. And then we start thinking on what is that you need to do, right? Do I need to write those YAML files? Do I need to learn Helm? Like how that will work? Is it operations? Is it developers? And it doesn't even end there, right? So if we go to the next slide, we also look into DevOps and the culture, and we want to bring that culture together. But we have seen through the different years and different use cases, that's not enough. There are many things we need to think of. In the next slide, we look at there's many things that we need to start looking into, right? From operations to have access into cluster, networking to have access from that application to ingress, egress, right, into different components inside, outside the cluster. Security is important from the beginning. So how we can integrate all the security within my application and all the components that are consuming. So there is a lot here that is not only even technology. We are talking about processes. We are talking about people and how everything combines together. So it's a lot to take in. I understand that. So if we go into the next slide, I want to ask you, like right now, if we start looking into those complexities and those things, how you work right now with your platform. So first, is it working for you? And what is it? What are the processes that you need to go through to get access and requirements? And how is that been working for you and the team?
That's a great question, Valentina. So if I think about it, we're taking a traditional approach to working with the platform. So let's say if I need a database spun up, I make that ticket, it might take a little while to come back, and eventually I get that provision. We're defining our requirements up front and going from there. And this happens, and then there's a response. And it's slow to the changing needs that we have in a cloud native environment. And I'm wondering, is there a different way to do things?
Yes, there is. There is a different way if we start looking into a platform as a product, right? When this is an always evolving product, when we take also the user needs into consideration through surveys, receiving feedback and meetings, and try to understand what are really their needs and the business needs. We make this into an agile way, so you don't need to start waiting for something to be fixed, but rather just that will be taken into consideration. And as a product, with that product mindset, it really is evolving that platform really beyond, right? We start looking into how we can increase platform capabilities. What are the users doing to do next? So it really opens up to many possibilities, not only to reduce all that friction and time wasted, but so much more. Yeah,
I think that's a great point.
that sounds great, right?
Yeah. And I think if we take a step back, I want to look at what we have in our environment, right? We've got this really great app platform that we were talking about before, right? With whatever operating system we're running on top of, with features for developer tools to increase my productivity, right? We've got capabilities for observability with Prometheus and Grafana, tools for auditing and compliance and security. And so it's a great place to deploy the applications, right? But on the other side, we've got application developers like myself creating the tools and the services. We've got front end, back end engineers. We've got data scientists and data engineers now that we're working with AI enabled applications. But I feel like there's a bit of a gap between the actual application platform where we're deploying our applications and the people who are developing, consuming, and working with the apps that will be deployed there. And so I think that we could connect this in a way with platform engineers. And this is the way that Red Hat, along with the community and industry, believes in a way to connect the gap between the app platform and the users with all of the best practices and security in hand. And I think this has been picking up quite a bit.
Yes, so so that's great that you mentioned that, because platform engineering even has been named by Gartner as one of the top 10 strategic technology trends for this year. And IDC also predicts by like in 2 years, let's say, right? 70% of enterprise will be adopting a composable internal facing application platform to really empower those developers, right? Because we know that developers are the last line of defense to bring that value into the business with their applications. So removing all that friction, it really helps. So having that platform engineering concept and practices around companies, it really helps with innovation, reducing friction, and everything we have discussed before. As you said, it's not only us, there are many research that are proving this, and companies are taking advantage of this platform as a product idea. And with that, we want to, talk about really platform as a product. As I mentioned, it's this idea of really bringing those capabilities, right, into the end user and thinking in a way that we can build this in an interactive and also iteration way that is agile and brings all those capabilities to the end users to really enable them to build applications.
I have a question. What is a platform, though?
Yeah. So according to Evan Bocher, digital platform is a foundation of self-services, APIs, tools, services, knowledge, and support, which are arranged as a compelling internal product. So APIs, tools, services, and knowledge, those are the key components that are critical to build a digital platform.
And what does this kind of look like? I know there's this kind of analogy of the iceberg, right?
Yeah, so if you're familiar with the tip of the iceberg concept, if you, advance one more, there is so much on a platform. We know how much a platform is capable of, right? If we start really at the bottom, what we need is all the configurations managers in order to enable this platform and capabilities to have as much as self-service as possible. But we need networking, we need storage, we need authentication, artifact builder, all of that. So all of that, we really want to hit that from that complexity from the end user and really focus on the creating a great experience. So at the top, we start with internal developed platform, which is Backstage, which allows to work with for development templates and provides this developer experience that I can access different environments and different applications capabilities. But it really is just given that complexity, but given the capabilities that the platform has to the end user. So it really focuses on enable the users and bringing a fantastic user experience.
Next one. I've noticed that you talked about the APIs, the tools, the services, the knowledge. So I also saw at the bottom of the quote, it's arranged as a compelling internal product. So What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so data has been defined about the internal development platform, right? And what are the things that are important? And this I have seen also when working with customers. So first, we need to enable those end users to have a quick and easy access into the platform so they can start building faster and building faster into the market. We really want to reduce that time to the market. So having that streamlined process is really critical. I have seen that sometimes a customer had sometimes months waiting just to have access to a cluster. So the idea is really how we can take that the company guidelines, best practices, securities that are required, but do it in a way that is really more streamlined for those end users and they can have quick access so they can start building those applications and coding. We want to code also in a fast, reliable inner loop, and we want to create that consistency across different environments to promote all those applications into the different development stages, but also runtime, right? Thinking on how we can create that in a stable way, scalable, with secure best practices, and including monitoring and logging, which are critical to understand what's going on with my application. So having all of that really set up, it's really a success for having that internal development platform.
And speaking of internal development platforms, I heard there's a project called Backstage.
Yeah, so Backstage is this open platform that allows us to build developer portals. So it was created by Spotify, it's part of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, and it really allows developers to focus on what they want, which is cool, right? You were saying, hey, I want to build my app, and right now I need to learn all these things. And when it ends, because now you need not only to learn, but keep your skills up to date, work with these other teams, and request access to the environment. So there are many things that you need to learn. The idea is to really create in that single pane of glass when you can have everything in one place and giving you that abstraction layer so you can just focus on what you love, right? Building the applications. It really unlocks the developer productivity. So with that, yes, there are many Backstage adopters, and every day there are more and more. So it's a really great community. The next one, next slide. But what really is what Backstage is composed by 5 components. So we have the centralized software catalog that is really all the metadata and application ownership from all the software and pieces that you can create within Backstage, from services, website libraries, pipelines, everything within there. The plugins is what really enables all the capabilities from the platform integrating with Backstage to enable like CI/CD, monitoring, and so much more. And then software templates, these are the critical pieces because that is what it really defines all the manifests to create your components within Backstage. Either it's an application, a virtual machine, or an AI application. The idea is to create those templates using best practices, the company guidelines, security, everything within there. So it's in a one single source of truth in a Git repository, and everyone can reuse that. So you can ensure that also you have version control, everyone can access, you can update frequently, you have audit information. So it's a really nice way to really adapt all those best practices without you needed to learn all the complexity from what we were saying, right? All the GitOps, the Hunters, the CI/CD, the Tecton, all of that. And Tech Docs, of course, is a critical piece if we want to have a centralized place to learn about technical documentation. It's really important because the idea of writing documentation is really great, but then it's difficult to maintain, right? And we have many places and documentation sometimes is duplicated. So bringing that within Backstage is really a nice way to solve all those problems. And then the search is just enable us to search and look for any object that is within Backstage. Yeah, with that, I want to go to the next one. We have amazing community that has built more than 190 community plugins. So the Red Hat, we are building fantastic plugins as well. You will see some of them, but we do have a lot of different plugins that you can take advantage of to increase that capabilities. As I mentioned, from CI/CD, monitoring, security as well. So there are so many that you can reuse. With that, yes, next one. Now we have the demo to show you how, well, what really is Backstage and how that works within our Red Hat products. So at Red Hat, I will start sharing my screen. So now, as you can see, I am here in Red Hat Developer Hub, which is based on Backstage. But we have created an enterprise-grade internal developer portal for you, integrated with Red Hat plugins and also community plugins to bring you the best experience. So here, what you can see is the homepage. In the homepage, I can customize everything that I'm seeing right now. And right now, I can access like community tools, developer tools, CI/CD, everything, OpenShift, clusters, everything that I want here from my internal developer portal. This is the homepage. I also have access to the catalog. So the catalog, remember, is the place where I can access everything that's been created within Developer Hub. So here I have applications. I have also a virtual machine created already. I can see who created this, what type of application is it, what type of life cycle we are in with that application, and also I can add some tags. The tags will help me to start filtering. I can also filter by type. I can also filter by different components. I can filter here with the different. This is a nice way that I can just see whatever is going on. You may wondering, wait a second, would I will see everything? We have an RBAC functionality that you can use in order to filter and decide who see what. The idea is you probably don't want all the teams seeing everything or accessing everything, so you can filter directly just to specific teams. I also have the APIs access. Right now, I don't have anything created, but if you are a developer and you want to see what is available for you to consume, or what are the APIs that are right now being exposed, it's a nice way and also will allow us to look into the APIs contract. Then we have learning paths. It's a nice thing that I want to learn something new. So this is my favorite place. I can just go here and click and it will be sending me to the specific learning path. Then we have the Tech Radar. This is an industry standard. So here it's just an organization can set up the maturity level with their applications, and this is customizable as well. So with that, this is the tool, right? This is Red Hat Developer Hub. But also, I want to take a step back and tell you again about the software templates. So we said that software templates are this powerful tool that allow us to really standardize how we create any components from applications, AIs, and even virtual machines. So I can create one repository and I can connect that with Developer Hub. And that will allow me to see it here. And it will bring to the developer really a great experience. With just a few clicks, I can create one object. And what will happen is that object will be created. In my case, I'm using OpenShift, the application platform. So do you want to see what I have to show you? Yes?
Okay. I would love to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So right now what I have is here on I have different templates that I could use. I have a Spring Boot application, a front end, a Java gateway. But also I have an AI application, but also I have these virtual machines. So this is a great solution. Imagine that you are a developer, but you also are working on these applications, legacy applications, and you need to access a virtual machine. So how you can do it in a self-service approach. I can just select really a virtual machine. I have here a Microsoft Windows virtual machine. I have a RHEL VM large, and then I have the medium. So I will just choose this one, the medium size. And see, this is all customizable. So if you operations are watching this, platform engineering, and you are wondering like how much power I can give when I give this self-service approach to developers to build these machines, it's up to you. You can define how much a developer can change. So in this case, I am just setting up, okay, what is the GitHub repository that I am doing? What is the organization from that? What is the cluster that I am in? And then I am setting up my user. The namespace is given by default. And then the only thing I can really do here is just change decide the name of my virtual machine. So I am not deciding the storage. I am not deciding the size. I am not deciding anything. everything is given to me. So as a developer, I just want to, I don't know, test, and then I want to create this, and then I will create it. Right now, what it's doing is really building that virtual machine. What is happening behind the scenes, we'll show you in a second. I can build this. It may take a second to load, but I am using OpenShift virtualization. I have it already installed in my OpenShift cluster. I already have everything I need from the infrastructure perspective. But what I can do is, let me go to this one. I have everything from here that I can explore from the virtual machine. I will have accessibility to the topology view, so I can explore the virtual machine, but also I can add, this is all customizable as well. I can add a link to the virtual machine itself within the cluster, so I can see all the details from the virtual machine. I can also click here and I can access the VNC console from the virtual machine. And this is all customizable, so I can give as much access as I want. So this is really a powerful tool that allows me just to, with one click, to build a virtual machine. It's amazing. The power of Red Hat Developer Hub is not only for building applications. I want to show you, I have another application here created. So this is just an application that is just built with a pipeline, right? So you can do applications, you can do provision virtual machines, but also you can build applications. I know, Cedric, you want to show us something about that.
Yeah, thanks so much, Valentina. So speaking of that, it's not just applications or virtual machines. It's also, in the age of AI, different AI embedded applications or projects that we want to essentially scaffold out and start working from with all the best practices of our organization. So I want to show you this reference architecture of what you're going to see here in the demo in just a second. Essentially, we've got data scientists here on the top that have been working in Jupyter notebooks. They've done some model fine tuning. They've tested their model, and the model is being served on our Kubernetes cluster with Kserve. So we can monitor that entire MLOps process with Kubernetes as well. But when it actually comes to the applications that are being developed that are inferencing this model that's being served, I think the Developer Hub portal is a great way to scaffold that out so that I, as a developer, can focus on the code, and then the applications deployment, the pipelines, the GitOps can all be handled by the Backstage and Developer Hub portal itself. So let's go ahead, head over there and check that out as well. So I'm here at my team's different Red Hat Developer Hub instance. And Valentina kind of showed you a little bit through the platform. I've got a little bit of a different environment here. We've got a lot of different services that have been stood up by all of the different members of our organization. So I can check those out and see what's going on there, get the statistics from GitHub, Dependably, and all of these plugins that we've talked about before. I've got a couple more installed here that I'll walk you through. But the kind of golden path template that I'm going to instantiate is actually a Python application that's going to be essentially inferencing a model that we have on the cluster. And I'll show you how this works in the background, is that we're using a template.yaml to essentially set up that template that Valentina walked you through. We can preset different parameters. We can show all of the different steps that will be instantiated, such as generating the source code repository from a skeleton, publishing that there, generating deployment resources and artifacts for GitOps, and publishing that, and also using pipelines as well. So all of this is customizable, and walk through this specific template that we have here. What I'll show you is one that we've already set up so that the pipelines have ran, and this has been deployed to the cluster itself. So here I can see a view into my Kubernetes cluster, view the different Kubernetes resources here. So it looks like that our deployment here is running with the application that has been included with the Golden Path template. So it looks okay to me. We can view the different pipelines that have ran or succeeded when I made changes. The API, so it looks like I'm consuming this photo generator API, and we can view the relationship graphing, which is pretty cool, or the Swagger UI. And so it's just so customizable so that I don't have to worry about things as a developer. I get the abstraction, which helps me to focus on the actual code itself. So let's go ahead and see that in action. This application is, as I said before, a Python Flask application that's going to make calls to a model that we have on the Kubernetes environment, or it could be a remote one like ChatGPT or Llama. And for this, I will generate photos of Teddy on the beach. And we'll go ahead and run this, give it a little bit of time, and we'll have a couple different photos of Teddy here on the beach.
Love it. That was amazing. I really love it. The power of really internal developer portals and with Red Hat Developer Hub is incredible. But also, what about security, right? We need to, this concept of shift left, right? So try to bring security sooner as possible, really right into the developer so the developer can make changes really quickly and avoid finding issues into production. But we do have many open source projects that you can take advantage of to really manage, like Keycloak. You can manage the identity access. So before even access Developer Hub or Backstage, you are looking into, does this person really have access or not? You also can look into the SIG store to really secure and sign and verify all the different software artifacts. With Kubelinter, you can have a static analysis that runs within the Kubernetes YAML files. WAC really allows you to aggregate all that software security metadata and to allows you to really have visibility on what's going on. With Detected Chains and Conflux, of course, is part of the building process, making it secure. And with that, you can integrate with Open Policy Agent as well to include many policies as you require to ensure that the policies are there when you are building all that container image application and you will be running it after that. Claire, of course, allows you to have visibility as well into the container image status. StackRox helps you with build and deploy runtime container and doing risk analysis and vulnerability scanning that are critical before running that container image in any environment. Project Quay, of course, allows you to protect the data and also provides the image vulnerability scanning. Argo CD monitors that actual state versus the desired cell configuration drift in case there are any changes. And with Falco, it's really streaming that detection at runtime. Here we had a really compelling different open source projects that you can take advantage of in order to secure your applications. With the next slide, what we will see is what are the best practices. So really shifting left in security, as I mentioned, bringing that security as early as possible. Find your personas, find your champions, start small with tech talks, evolve it into software templates, and keep one portal. Consistency across your organization is critical. And then next, thank you so much for listening. Please connect with us.
Yes, and we want to point you to the slides as well. So if you follow that link, you can learn about the slides and also solution patterns of already built out, essentially reference architectures like what we just showed today with the virtualization and also the AI. And if you'd like to connect with us on LinkedIn, please feel free to do so. The Red Hat booth is the virtual booth. It's the website. So if you have any questions, we also want to point you to developers.redhat.com, where you can learn about more projects and products that we work on, learn about platform engineering. You can try out Developer Hub on your machine for free, completely cloud hosted. You can just try it out completely free and get your hands on working with platform as a product. And we want to thank you so much for coming to our presentation, for sticking around, watching the demos. On behalf of myself and Valentina, we'd like to say thanks so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.